Okay, it's 9:30. It's time for us to go ahead and get started with our committee meeting. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Senator Butler, Senator Figures, Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey,
Here.
Senator Price, Senator Shellnut, Senator Smitherman, Senator Stutz, and Senator Chasteen.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum, so we'll get started this morning. We'll have the clerk call the first bill.
Senate Bill 246 by Senator Orr.
Senator Orr, welcome.
Good to be with you. This bill is pretty simple. Right now, under current law, we require people that want a religious vaccine to go down to the public health office for their children and get permission from the public health office to recognize their religious exemption, and then they take that to the school when it comes to vaccines, and this bill would just remove that step. And if they had a religious objection to vaccine requirements, then they would just present that to the school. So it gets the government out of people having to more or less represent their religious objections to vaccines. And a number of states have exceptions like this: Texas, Louisiana. Some of them are much broader: personal reasons, philosophical, moral belief. This bill doesn't get into all that. It just sticks to the religious exemptions.
Okay.
Move for favorable.
Okay, move for favorable. Senator Hovey, second, Senator Gudger.
Me
Clerk call
one
the roll.
question.
Yes, sir. Senator Butler.
Senator Orr, is there any statistics on infection rates for kids that have not been vaccinated?
I don't have that, and you could argue that with building up immunity themselves, they do better than the vaccinated children, but that's a conflict above my pay grade.
Okay, any other questions from members? Okay. Clerk call the roll.
Senator Butler,
Aye.
Senator Chasteen,
Aye.
Senator Figures, Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Price, Senator Shellnut, Senator Smitherman, Senator Stutz.
Okay, 6-0. Bill's given a favorable report. Thanks, Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Okay, clerk, if you'll call the next bill, please.
Senate Bill 229 by Senator Kelly.
Senator Kelly, welcome.
Good morning, Chairman and members. This bill is actually a pretty simple bill as well. It's with the Jacksonville State University. It would add 2 members to the Board of Trustees there. The unprecedented growth that they've had, we need to expand that where we can expand the diversity on the board. We've got a friendly amendment for where we can go outside and get some outside of the state on the trustees as well.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt that amendment.
Okay, Senator Gudger offers the amendment. Do I hear a second? Second, Senator Hovey. Okay. All right, what's the amendment?
It expands the board, replaces line 36 and 37 on page 2 with the following. So the state, instead of 1, will have 2 at-large members from this state, and 2 instead of 1 members from outside the state.
Okay, good.
So
Okay.
if I could like to do that with previous role without objection, if possible.
Okay, we use previous role, no objection? Okay, amendment is adopted. Okay, on the bill.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that was just a clarification, so
Okay,
Make a motion to adopt the bill as amended.
okay, we'll adopt the bill as amended. Second by Senator Hovey. Any objections using previous role? If none, bill's given a favorable report. Thank you, Senator Kelly.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Okay, clerk, call the next bill, please.
Senate Bill 253 by Senator Chasteen.
Okay, members, this is Senate Bill 253 is one of the bills that we've been working on since 2019 with the Lieutenant Governor's Workforce Pathways Commission. And what this bill will do, and just before I talk about that, just let me give you a little quick statistic right here that I think really emphasizes the need for this legislation. In 2021, we had 49,615 students that graduated from our high schools in Alabama. 45% of those students did not attend any post-secondary education. 32% went to 4-year, 23% went to 2-year. So we're looking at over 40% of these kids that are graduating from high school that have no credential, that have a high school diploma. And what I used to tell folks from our county before we had a career tech education center was we're giving them a high school diploma and a pat on the back and saying, good luck with your minimum wage job. And we can do better. So the Lieutenant Governor has this commission that we've been working on for 5 years, and this bill will establish the Alabama Workforce Pathways, and it will provide a pathway for those students that we just mentioned that do not plan to attend college or any post-secondary. They will not have to take, they will be required to take 2 less math and 2 less science courses, but in lieu of that, they will enter into a career tech trade that will give them a credential on their diploma that will provide them a pathway to employment after high school.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
any questions? I have an amendment first we need to adopt, if I can, please. And I'll offer the amendment, and it says on page 3, line 71, unless and until an alternative assessment is developed for students in the Workforce Pathways Diploma, their academic achievement may not be considered in assigning academic achievement grades to a school or school system. In other words, if you're not required to take an algebra or a trig, and yet you're having to be tested on it with the ACAP or the ACT, the school should not be, that shouldn't work against the school's grade, their grade. So I'd like to adopt that amendment.
Second.
Second by Senator Butler. Any objections to using previous role? If none,
We needed this about 40 years ago.
didn't we though? Okay, so the amendment is adopted. Do you hear a motion on the bill?
I'll make a motion on the bill with a discussion.
Okay, question.
I'm just listening to you and everything and kind of going through. If somebody decided in high school or middle school that they didn't want to go to post-secondary, 2-year or 4-year, and went through this, started going through this program, hadn't graduated yet, but then changed their mind and wanted to get back out, I think they're going to have trouble getting into admissions of universities or post-secondary. And the only reason I'm bringing that up, and I've got to go back through the bill and find that out. It
Right.
might be in there, but I'd like to make sure I bring that up. But you and I work together on that before it hits the floor.
I'll give you some clarification on that because I've had this discussion with someone else too.
Okay, good.
Because, do you opt in and then all of a sudden you decide,
Yeah.
because they're 15 years old, and things change with them. So there needs to be a way that they can recover. And if they can do that early in their career, by the time they're a junior and a senior, they'll have a chance to take those courses that they opted out of early on.
To make sure that they make the requirements to get into the universities or technical
Or
schools or
post-secondary,
whatever.
correct.
I think it's a great bill, and thanks for bringing it. But yeah, I've got the motion.
Okay,
Using previous role without objection.
okay. Any objection using previous role? Okay, we adopt the bill as amended. Was it 6-0? Okay, 6-0, bill's given a favorable report. Thank you, members. Okay, the last bill, clerk call the bill, please.
House Bill 95 by Representative Stubbs.
Representative Stubbs, welcome to Education Policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. This bill, HB 95, presents an opportunity for virtual students in the state of Alabama to utilize remote testing for their standardized testing within the State Department of Education. There are 15 other states that participate in this in some form or fashion and who are advancing to this. The bill really came about because a lot of our virtual students are having right now to travel far distances to take their standardized tests at a centralized location. This adds for expense for the families and also puts these students in taking these tests in an unfamiliar environment. Many of the students who are virtual testing students or who are virtual students in the state are doing that for a reason.
So moved.
Okay, we have an amendment.
Yes, we do.
Senator Smitherman. Senator Smitherman, you're recognized.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I apologize.
That's no problem.
I don't want you to adjourn the meeting if this is the last bill, because I do have some questions, even though we passed these other ones. I'm not trying to go back and re-vote. but I need.
We'll be happy to talk about those, okay?
yes, sir.
All right.
Apologies, we were tardy
We were
because
in judiciary.
I
which
know,
is still
I know,
going on.
I know.
Thank you.
I understand.
Well, y'all
That's a
moving like a
conflict-
freight
that's
train in here, 11 minutes, and they be on the last bit. I said, Lord have mercy.
That's a conflict we always have with judiciary and ed policy trying to overlap. So I'll be happy to talk about any of these issues or questions y'all have concerns with. Okay, so
Okay.
we have an amendment. Senator Gudger,
I'd like to make a motion for an amendment to this particular bill, and then I think it's in front of everybody. It looks like that one.
on HB 95.
So move on that.
Okay, offered by Senator Gudger. No, Senator Hatcher, you
Can you
offered the
just
amendment,
explain
right?
what the amendment does?
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, so this amendment to the bill was in conjunction with working with the State Department of Education. We are moving the date due to the contracts that they are entering into with the testing entity. So we move the date, effective date from from June 1st, 2024, we move that back to January 1st, 2025 to coincide with the bid process. We also added an amendment to require the assessment proctors to be teachers who hold a valid professional education certificate in the state of Alabama. And finally, we added an amendment commencing with the 2025-2026 school year that this testing, virtual testing program is subject to availability of funds, which we are working with the budget chairs to accommodate that.
Senator Smitherman.
What, I really don't understand what connection is this have with the kids? You said that something about available and whatnot. What is it that we're trying to do?
These are virtual students within the State Department of Education, and they are doing all of their schoolwork at home on a computer. But in our current environment, those students are required to travel to a central location to take the state-administered examinations. So the students are doing virtual students.
So they get, at this point, they're unvirtual. They're going to a spot.
Right.
You know, even though the test might be virtual at that spot, but they all got to
right.
go to this one spot.
And many of these students are virtual because they have anxiety issues or other issues, and now we're throwing them in a room with a lot of people and asking them to do their best on a test.
But how, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
How are they going to be monitored, though, taking this test somewhere else? I mean, you know, you understand what I'm
Yeah,
getting at now? I mean, I can't say it no other way. I mean, how are they going to be monitored? They won't be cheating.
That's a great question. So this is a virtual proctoring program. This is used by higher education. It's used by the bar exam. Many other institutions, national institutions, are now having people take these certification tests at home. They have a monitor that's watching them. It's a closed circuit website browser, so it provides a lot of protections.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Figurs.
I just wanted to ask you a question too. I took
wouldn't
my
do-
test on virtual on the computer. Okay, I'm sorry. Finish.
But you're saying that you got to have the monitor. Everybody's going to be required the requirements to take the test is that you've got to have all this equipment in place. Is that in this bill? That you
These
got to have
student-
all this that you're saying in place?
These students who are already participating in the virtual programs already have the equipment
But does the
available
bill-
to them.
Does the bill say that that's mandatory that you have it? Because
Yeah, well.
where in this bill then? It says that.
There is not what it says is that the state is not paying for that equipment.
No, I'm talking about the pay.
Right.
I'm talking about because, I mean, if they want that privilege, I understand that. But where is it mandatory that they gotta have that?
Well, in order for the students to participate in the state virtual programs, the students already have to have that because they're doing all of their schoolwork with a teacher, with a camera. So the technology and the equipment is already present.
But one more time, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
But my point is this though, what is it going, what is it that's, I guess what I'm saying is that the monitoring itself, how are you going, how you know that, in other words, having the test,
Yep.
the simple fact that they are being watched in class is not a broad enough monitoring if somebody taking a test and they cheating.
Well,
I mean,
the technology is proven in the
you know,
sense
because
that-
we have virtual school already.
That's
You
right.
know, so I know it doesn't cover, you can't see everything, you know, so how is that gonna be secure versus,
So I can tell you
versus
my
coming to that
experience.
site where everybody's gonna be able to monitor them to taking that?
I can tell you my experience. I'm a licensed financial advisor, so I took my Series 7 brokerage license in my living room, which is one of the most highly scrutinized industries in the country. And what they do, they verify your identity. They have a monitor watching you with a certified school teacher on the other end of that camera who's watching you. They tell you in the beginning all of the things that you can't do. So you can't get up and leave. You can't bend over and grab something. They actually take the camera and look around the room to make sure you don't have a cheat sheet over there on the wall or something like that. Or they make you show your hands that you don't have anything written. So I'm not here to say that everything's perfect, but I certainly believe that these students who we as a state are giving them the opportunity to be virtual education students, we should give them the opportunity to do that fully, not for everything except testing. We should open that opportunity, and it would provide them with that, and also minimize a lot of travel and other things that some families are having to do because of this. So.
You answered that question, but what I'm asking, I want to ask you the last question then. Don't we require that you have to go on a university's campus for a limited amount of time when you are taking virtual classes? I mean, I know a gentleman who got his master's from Georgia Tech in being a athletic director at a high school, and he had to go over there 2 or 3, not every weekend, but it was at these points you're
So
saying.
I think that those.
Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
So if we are requiring colleges, why we're not requiring these students? Now, if we're not requiring colleges, I understand and appreciate what you're saying. But if we're not going to be consistent with making, if you're in college to get this degree, you got to come on that campus and at a limited amount of time for whatever that purpose is. And now we telling high school students, you ain't got to leave the house never, you know, and you're going to be able to get yours. I think that's very inconsistent, and I think we need to stay where we are, or either we need to make it where the colleges they have the same privileges that we're giving these high schools.
Senator Hatcher first, and then Senator Figurs, I'll recognize you. Okay, Senator
I
Figurs
didn't
first.
get to
Okay.
finish because.
Okay, you go right ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to give my testimony too about taking a test. In fact, when I did my insurance license test, I did it that way. And you're absolutely right in all that you said. And then they review the recording. They record it, and then they review it, and then they let you know later. Yeah, they tell you then, yeah, you passed it. But, you know, anyway. So what I get from this bill is that you're giving the students, K through 12, the opportunity to choose whether they want to go on site to do it or whether they want to do it virtually.
So what we're doing is the virtual education programs in the state at a program level or a department or a school level, they will decide our school is going to opt into this or our school is not going to. And
So they have to do it all in or not.
Right. And
Gotcha.
some schools, because of small numbers or whatever, they may not choose to do this. Elmore County Board of Education, we have a virtual school, but all of our students live within 20 minutes they all live right there in Elmore County.
Right.
The larger institutions in the state, they have students all over the state, and so some are traveling 2 or 3 hours for testing.
So I agree with you. When they're doing it anyway, that's what they are accustomed to. And I'm one who has anxiety with testing, and that was a wonderful experience. I passed the first time, so it was a great experience. So I'm glad that you're making it possible for our kids.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to, first of all, thank you, Representative Stubbs, for bringing this bill in the House. I'm carrying this in the Senate, and one of the reasons is because of the very things that you're saying. I think that if it's a virtual program, then it should be comprehensive in the sense of how we go about these assessments. And I'm grateful to the Education Department, particularly the superintendent and Connor and those guys who've worked with us to really work very carefully to be sure that this assessment is done with a sense of integrity. And thankfully, the technology that you've alluded to really is impressive. For those of us, like myself, who was born in the 1800s, it's challenging for us in many instances to see how this kind of technology could very well, in many instances to us, the way we've gone about, pedagogically speaking, the educational experience has been this kind of warehouse approach. And what we're dealing with now is, at least when we talk about opportunities for every person to have, regardless of what your learning disability may be, an opportunity for success. Because we do have a lot of young people, suffering many other illnesses, Asperger's syndrome, all these different things that, as Senator Figurs just alluded to, in terms of anxiety issues that have created tremendous difficulties for them to have success. So what you have said, I think that's important, is that once a person opts into, you make the option to be a part of the program, that those things would have been checked to see that at least we're doing what's necessary to attend to each of those students who really do need to have this opportunity. So, and with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move for a favorable report.
Okay.
Except for the
I have one question, Representative Stubbs. How many students currently are virtual in the state? Do we?
I could speak for our client that manages 2 schools, and their numbers are somewhere around 6,000 statewide. Connections Academy is another managed school, and I think they're at 5,000.
Okay.
So, and one of the things to consider when y'all are considering this is a lot of these are free and reduced lunch. So when they're traveling and having to stay overnight to take a test, that's a burden that, they opted into this, but the central location is sometimes burdensome on them.
Senator Smithman.
It's a burden when they go to school and pay for lunch every day, ain't it?
It's a burden.
I mean, if they ain't Title 9 or whatever it is, if they're not that, so what's the problem with them paying for food when they go for this?
Well, they're paying food, gas.
Whatever they pay for gas to take their kids to school. I mean, I would coach at Rams. The Rams, if you on the other side of the city, the bus don't run way over there. You know. So I mean, what's the problem? They chose this path.
I understand that.
All right. Well, they need to pay.
Well, they chose to be virtual students, so they should test virtually.
Okay. All right. So let's have a long roll.
Let me put just for perspective on
Yes, sir.
What Mr. Haygood just mentioned. He said somewhere around the number of 6,000 students who might be in the program out of 700, I think 700 and some thousand students we have in public schools in the state. So I do think, and that's 700 plus thousand who are in public schools, not the 82,000 who are in private schools. So that is, when you do the math, a minuscule number of individuals who are actually in this virtual program.
Okay. Senator Smithman, you have a comment?
I just want to kind of, he didn't ask for it, but help my colleague. Now, he said 11,000, 2 schools, 1 6 and 1 5. And then that doesn't determine how many schools it is in the state. He didn't say what the total number in the state. I just wanted to correct it. It's more than 5,000 students.
Right.
He said 11.
Right.
11,000?
His own self, just them 2 schools, they got 11.
2 schools we got is somewhere around 6, and then there's 5 at Connections, and there are 15 programs across the state. Not all of them are statewide, but it's still, I think I can say this, Connor, it's like less than 1% of the entire population of students. Still, is that right? Right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, clerk, we call the roll, please. No. Who, you offered the amendment?
You got an amendment?
Senator Gudger?
Did we pass it? Yeah.
I don't think we didn't vote on the amendment. No, let's vote on the amendment. Long roll, please.
Senator Butler? Aye. Senator Chastain?
Aye.
Senator Figurs? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Hovey? Senator Price? Senator Shellnut? Senator Smitherman?
Aye.
Senator Stutz?
Okay, so the amendment is adopted. Now onto the bill.
Make a motion as amended.
Okay,
With
Senator
using
Gudger
previous
makes a
rule
motion
without
to-
objection, if that's
Okay.
okay with everyone.
I have
Second.
one question. What is it about, now, we've been talking about this amendment the whole time, which is fine. But what does the bill initially do that varies from this amendment? You understand where I'm coming from? If no amendment was on this bill, what would this bill do? I hear the whole conversation
Representative
about
Stubbs,
the
I believe he explained to begin with.
Yeah, so the amendment
Not the
modifies.
amendment, I want to know what the bill itself, I mean, you
The
put a
bill allows for
in.
virtual testing. The bill did not include a requirement for a certified teacher to be the proctor. So we changed that, and now we're requiring the proctor on the camera to be a certified teacher in the state of Alabama.
So we already had the bill,
Correct?
so it's not a new bill.
Well,
It's not a new bill, is it? You know what I mean, about virtual testing.
No,
Before we walked in here, we had virtual testing.
yes.
Now, is that correct?
before we walked in here, we did not have virtual test. We had testing at remote sites. We did not have the virtual testing. What we are doing is authorizing the virtual testing, but the amendment changes who the proctor is. It actually strengthens it, requires the proctor to be a certified teacher. The amendment changes the date of implementation to coincide with the bid process for the state when they put out for bid who their testing vendor is. And then the amendment includes language that this is contingent on funds being available, which we are working with both budget chairs to do that for implementation in the future.
Okay, that answers your question?
That answered my question. right
Okay,
there.
any objection used in previous roll? Seeing none, bill's given a favorable report. Representative Stubbs, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Bobby.
Sure. Okay, I know we have a general fund committee meeting in just a few minutes, but we did start, and I think Senator Smitherman, you might have had a couple of questions about some of the bills we had earlier.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll make them quick questions. 'Cause
Yes, sir.
I'm on the next committee too. But what's the Jacksonville State? Are you putting 4 more additional board members on there? You putting 2 more additional board members on there. So what's the total number of board members now? That would raise it to? Total 13 now. And what's the diversity count on there now? Yeah, what's the diversity count?
Leah, could you answer that for me, please?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. We have 2 minority females, 2 minorities on the board, 2 females on the board. This will allow us to open up for in-state or out-of-state to include a more diverse board to be reflective of our students and our alumni base.
I mean, why do you feel you got to open up from the state? You don't think out of 1.5 million black folks, you can't find 2? I mean, you just said open up out the state. I mean, we got 1.5 million.
Inside or outside of the state?
People in this state look like me, and we can't find 2 people?
Yes, sir. We do have a great pool to select from in-state or out-of-state. This just will allow us the opportunity to pull from different points.
That sounds like a nice lawyer answer. Well, why you? I'm gonna give you one back. Why you ain't got them then?
Senator, you've always given
Excuse me,
JSU.
Senator. No, excuse me, Senator. Excuse me. No, I just wanted to know the answer why.
Yes, sir. We've been aggressive in including minorities on our board. This just allows us an opportunity to add more seats to allow a diverse population.
Let me say this, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna be short with it like this. No, you all have been aggressive in the past, yes. But that aggression is kind of dwindled down. You all were the first college to come forward to change your board. That's why I'm asking. We changed it once, and we changed it for the purpose, one of the purposes so that you all could make sure that you had diversity. And you had more people back then than you do right now. So that's why I'm questioning that. What happened to that, what you just said that you had, in that now we only got 2 African Americans on there. At that time, it was 4 or 5.
No.
You know, excuse me, it was 4 or 5 back in the time when we changed that whole board. Okay, so what I'm saying is that we got these 2. I'm requesting that we increase the amount of African Americans that are on this board for diversity purpose.
Yes, sir.
If we go to a third, it's not, go to 25%, that's not 25%.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you went to that. So that's my personal request, okay?
Yes, sir. I
All right.
appreciate that.
Senator Figurs, did you have a comment?
No, sir.
Okay,
It
okay, thank you.
won't even matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee, I appreciate that. Appreciate your explanation. Any other questions from members of the committee? Motion to adjourn? Okay, second? We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, members.